Okay guys, welcome back. This is our third last episode of looking at the individual letters, and today we are looking at letters 3, 7 and 9, and they are respectively the Gimel, the ZAYIN and the TET. And as we've said in the past, we are looking at how to pronounce them, what are their meaning, and then also how to write them both from an ancient perspective and then in the modern Aramaic script. Without further ado, we're looking at the Gimel. It's the third Hebrew letter. And this letter originally used to be pronounced as gam. And if you look at modern Hebrew, the word gam means also, literally also. And the word gam is the idea of gathering at a waterhole. And this is the picture of a camel. A camel gathers at a waterhole, and this was the idea that the ancients understood. When we look at the meaning of the word Gemel, it is foot, walk, and gather. The sound of Gemel in English is a G and should not be confused with a chet and the chaf, where you have a fricative or a ch sound. How do we write them? First of all, when you look at different timelines of the ancient Hebrew alphabet, you might find slight variations. And by the way, I refer you to the work of Mr. Jeff Benner, who has an excellent explanation of how even in the ancient world there was an evolution of the script way before it became the Aramaic script. But when we write the foot, it looks something like this. Gimel. Alright, and in the modern script, it is a little hook and a foot to the down right. Our seventh Hebrew letter is the letter ZAYIN. Now, the letter ZAYIN does not occur in the biblical text as a word. And remember, all Hebrew letters are also Hebrew words. It doesn't appear in the text, but it has a cognate, a derivative called zayan, and this means to feed with a D, not feed with a T. Feed with a D. And therefore, ZAYIN has something to do with food. The picture of the ZAYIN, as we will look at now, is the picture of a tool and an implement. And it almost means three things: to cut, food, and to nourish, where cut refers to the function, food to the product of the utensil, and nourish the result of the utensil. ZAYIN has the sound Z or Z in English, and we write them as follows. The ZAYIN in the ancient Hebrew looks like a little mattock or utensil. Two diagonal lines connected with another diagonal line, something like that. The ZAYIN in modern Hebrew, also after its evolution of the timeline, looks something like this. A little hook roof and a down. Can be confused with a vav. Take note, you have a little hook at the top and a down line. ZAYIN, Z. The ninth Hebrew letter is the letter TET, and TET is a picture of a basket that used to store food and essential items, and very often the word TET also is associated with clay in Hebrew, with a slightly different spelling in the biblical text. But we have the meanings of basket, clay, surround, and contain. And this you can immediately see in the way we write it in the ancient script. It's a little circle with a cross in, and it represents the design of a basket, or then something to contain, a container. In the Aramaic script or in the modern Hebrew, we write it as follows: a little hook on the one end, down, and another to the right. Can be done in one go. Alright, and the letter TET has the pronunciation of T. There is the idea that back in the days, the letter TET used to be pronounced as a TH sound. But for our practice and purposes, reading the modern biblical Hebrew text, it has the sound T. Some scholars actually say that the letter TET is associated with a softer T, where the Tav is a strong, hard T. Okay, let's look at some words for today. Now, the list gets longer. I'm going to start with some earlier letters and combine them with a chet and the ZAYIN and the TET. Our first word for today is the word CHAG, and it combines a chet and a Gemel, and it means to circle or to move in a circle. This, by the way, forms the root word for the idea of a festival or a holiday in Hebrew. You can learn more of that under our playlist, The Appointed Times. Next word combines a dalet and a Gimel, and that is the word dag, and it is the word for a fish. And you can see that from the idea of the movement of the feet or movement of the tail. Dag. Next word, ger, Gimel combined with a resh, and that is the word for a foreigner or a stranger, even a nomad, if you may. It comes from the famous passage in Psalm 119, verse 19, where David says, Ger anochi va'aretz, meaning, a stranger am I on the earth. Or easier in English, I am a stranger or a foreigner in the world or on earth. Next one is a gimel combined with a mem safid, and this is the word also. Very handy. Gam. Next up is the word gan. Here we just finishes off the Gemel with a nun safid, and this is the noun for a garden. Then this one is interesting. A gimel combined with a taf is the word gad. A gad is a press, as in an oil press or a wine press. And you find this in the word gachiman, which is the Hebrew word for Gethsemane. And if we look at the story of Yeshua, where his life, his blood was almost pressed out of him, with this beautiful prophetic image of a gachiman, the press of an oil. Next up is an aleph combined with a zayin, and this is the adverb. Oh, very handy. So, therefore, then, and next. Az. Then we get to a zayin combined with a vet. And this you can see is, the word zayin is nourishment, and the word vet refers to the house or the tent or the household, and it means the nourishment of the household. Okay, and this word zav is the parent root of a word called ezuv, which is the English word for a hyssop. And then the hyssop, obviously, if you remember the story of the first Passover, this was a herb required to put the blood on the door lintels. Beautiful. And it makes sense when you look at Psalm 51 verse 7, where David says, cleanse me with a hyssop, where hyssop then actually means the nourishment of the household. So you can see that the beautiful idea of cleansing is almost nourishment in God's economy. Next up is the word ze, combining a zayin and a hey, and this is the male pronoun to mean this. I would say ze and then the noun. And when you replace the hey with a vav, it becomes zo, and this is just the female pronoun for this. Ze and zo. The word zan is a zayin and a nun safid, and this is the verb to sustain, and you can just see it. Zayin is the nourishment continues. Zan, to sustain. Then tov, it has more than one spelling. If you put a tate and a vaid, one of the other spellings actually include a vav in the middle, but the word tov means to be good. And while good is a very abstract concept, in Hebrew it literally just means to be functional. And the last one is the word tach, and that is to contain the wall, and it literally means a clay wall. Thank you very much. I hope you stay up to date with the letters and the words. We have 2 more sessions to go, and then we'll start digging into a whole new aspect of the Hebrew language. Take care and be blessed.